Abu Dhabi. John, this steep decline has got to be putting an awful lot of pressure on OPEC.
Yeah, in fact, it's starting to create cracks within the 13-member body, Maggie. Call it the $30 call to action. That's what we're seeing from the outgoing president of the OPEC conference and the top senior Nigerian official. It's interesting because this is a challenge to the Saudi Arabian strategy to fight for market share over prices, which has the support of the UAE, Kuwait, and Qatar. Interesting that the Nigerian ministerial official decided to make the comments right here at the heart of the Middle East. So I asked him, are we likely to see an emergency meeting and real action by the end of February or early March? Let's take a listen.
I expect to see one. There's a lot of energy around one. Obviously, meetings won't make any meaning unless you have both the protagonists agree to some common positions. Because ultimately, OPEC is a union of the interests of members. And if majority of your members are beginning to take a clawing, in the oil markets environment and the economies are really getting shattered, then something needs to give. And I expect that emotion, much more than the polemics of pricing, will ultimately be what's going to drive an emergency meeting.
Does it change the Saudi Arabian position with the support of 3 other Arabian Gulf producers? Has it gone too far, the Saudi strategy, to fight for market share?
I would say that for us, that policy is going too far. We need to sit back and say, how can we balance the need to protect, obviously, market share? We need it for the survival of the business itself and the survival of the countries who own these businesses themselves. And I think a greater majority of people, not necessarily majority in terms of the volumes that they produce, but majority in terms of membership, are beginning to feel that the time has come to sit back and have a meeting and dialogue again once more without the sort of tension that we had in Vienna on this.
Well, you raise a very interesting point. You can have dialogue, but does it lead to action? Will Saudi Arabia give up some of the almost 1.5 million barrels that it acquired in the last 2 years? Will they change policy is the real question.
I think ultimately, for the interest of everybody, some policy change will happen.
Once again, the Minister of Petroleum, or acting senior official at the Nigerian Minister of Petroleum, and the outgoing president of OPEC, Mr. Kachuku. His comments, Maggie, might seem a little bit premature. And the reason I say that is I also chaired a panel today in Abu Dhabi at the same conference with Suhail al-Mazroui, the UAE Minister of Energy, who's suggesting that the strategy is working, that we're likely to see U.S. shale production drop by 1 million barrels a day. But it is very clear now that the African and Latin American producers say enough is enough and we need to consider an emergency meeting by the end of February or early March.